The Guns on Pegs podcast is brought to you by iTap Group. Coming up in this episode of the Guns on Pegs podcast...
If it's any good, you'll get absolutely hammered from around about the waist down.
I could write on the back of a postage there.
Extremely lurid pink garters.
We're going on a jolly, yeah. We're going up to see one of your new titled mates.
The RSPB are encouraging us all to put our bird feeders away.
Would you use order the garter hand-stitched barrel sleeve?
Pink and purple leather.
Yes.
Yeah, I think I probably would.
There goes the explicit marker.
Hello, and welcome to the Guns on Pegs podcast. It's me, George Brown.
It's Avian down in 4 Seasons in a Day, Cornwall.
It's Jake in 4 Seasons in a Day, Suffolk.
And it is Sam in 4 Seasons in a Day, Devon.
What's it all about? Hail, sunshine, It's all over the place. I blame Storm Dave.
Is he still about, is he?
He wasn't even a David, was he?
Didn't we have a Storm Kenneth a couple of years ago?
Well, there's something a bit noble about a Kenneth, isn't there? Branner and...
Yeah, it's one of those names that I think is, they every now and again publish a list of names that are dying out. Like there are no more Nigels being born.
Yes.
No more, is it Collins? Is Colin the dying name?
Yeah, you don't meet a lot of baby Collins, do
No,
you?
you never look at a baby and think Colin, do you? All the Collins I know are old.
He just looks like a Colin. I don't know. There's a mate
Hasn't
of mine
Colin just become a caterpillar cake and nothing else?
Yes. There's a mate of mine whose son is called Bernard, which I think is an excellent name for a little boy.
Yeah.
Right. Enough baby name chat. Gentlemen, normally at this stage, I would ask you all what that is that you are drinking. But today, it is a momentous day. This day has been months in the making. So I think, Avian, you had better do the honours. Tell us what it is, to the best of your ability, what it is that we are drinking.
We have the inaugural drink off of the Orchard of the Garter, so the Challenge Avian cider. I've sent it round to the boys. I don't know how it's travelled.
I did find it funny. Mine turned up in a box that had a "This Way Up" sticker on it. So I put it the right way up, opened it, and it was upside down.
Brilliant, you got that one. Okay, so what can we say? We don't know what ABV it is. We know it has no artificial additives.
Wait, hang on. Is a rat considered an artificial additive?
No, not at all.
Okay, that's a natural ingredient.
That
The rat or badger. We don't know how strong it is. I think the best Tom at Hayward Farm and I could come up with is it's kind of the Hitchhiker's Guide to cider. It's mostly harmless.
Yeah, I think it. I mean, well, we'll see, shall we?
We shall see.
So Avian has very kindly sent each of us a sort of, well, it looks like a jerry can.
It is a jerry can.
It is a jerry can. So at one point, I thought I'd been sent some red diesel, which I was quite excited about.
Couldn't afford to send you 2 litres of diesel, George. Christ.
So we've all got 2 litres, have we? Is that that's how big those are?
We have. Now, Tom has said, which we won't do tonight because this will end in chaos, but he said the thing to do is you're meant to, over the course of an hour, just slowly drink your way through 2 litres and see if you can stand up afterwards. He said everybody he knows thinks they can, but most of us can't.
Yeah, I mean, well, I've already had a pint and 3 glasses of red wine this evening, so I'm not going to be attempting that particular challenge.
Yeah, and I'm on call.
I'll give it a go. I've got
Good on you, Sam. Right, I'll take it on with you. So anyway, boys, this is a mixture of all the different apple varieties we did. It's been slightly sweetened because when it was straight out after filtering, it was drier than dry could possibly be. So we took the technical step of, as we said, I think last time we were out talking about the cider, we've got a couple of the original straight from the pot to go in the competition. And this is the very technically blended, put everything that's left in a bucket and bottle it.
Fantastic.
Fair play.
I've noticed that there are some different approaches to serving here. What is the traditional way of serving Cornish cider, Avian?
Well, when it comes in sort of like a handed down cut glass plastic jerry can, the lid should be taken off, the thumb should be roundly shoved through the back of the plastic bit, and then there's sort of a twisting, turning motion to pop it on your shoulder, and then just drink it through the side of your mouth until you can no longer steer the car.
Gotcha. Okay, so I've got mine in a glass, a sort of half pint, which I was playing it safe. I looked at the pint glass and thought perhaps not. Jake, what have you gone for?
So I've got a glass that I have borrowed from the Real Ale Festival I attended over the bank holiday weekend, which is like a tulip half pint glass.
Right.
I thought that would be a safe one, a half pint.
So we've got 3 half pints, and Sam, I can see on our video, has opted to go with a more traditional approach, in that the only drinkware I've seen so far is a straw and the open 2-litre jerry can.
I wanted to leave it's been sitting here strategically, so I wanted to make sure any sediment stayed at the bottom, and by using the straw, I can ensure that I don't get any bits.
I'll tell you what, with this whiskey smoker, mate, you're becoming a bit of an aficionado, aren't you?
I am, yes.
Yeah. So anyway, boys, that's what it is. It's got a nice bit of bite to it. It's quite cloudy. There are bits of rat and God knows what on the bottom of the keg, so I recommend don't shake to wake the drink. But what do we think?
I think taste on 3, shall we? 1, 2, 3, off it goes. Well, do you know, I think that is really rather good, Avian.
That is actually
it's not bad, is it?
I'm not a habitual cider drinker, but I think that's really good. I could easily drink that of a summer's afternoon.
Yeah,
it's got summer's afternoon written all over it. It's got Bad Decisions by 7, and it's got possibly Porcelain by 11 is how I'm going to describe it.
I've been reliably informed that if it's any good, if you sit down and drink it, you'll get absolutely hammered from around about the waist down, but you'll just be quite relaxed and happy from the waist up. So making it to the porcelain is an absolute no-no. But I did decide not to. I'm quite glad we were going to record last night. Then I was spent all day in the woods working on the shoot today, and I'm glad it's the other way around because I don't want to be too far from modern interior plumbing devices just in case it goes wrong. But
I'm glad I decided to sit on my commode.
A bloody good job. Bloody good job. I wouldn't know. I could write on the back of a postage. There we go. We're already going for it. Goodness me. But on the back of a postage stamp, what I know about making any kind of alcohol drink, especially cider. So, mate, fair play. It's a very refreshing drink.
It's not bad, is it?
Good health.
We're going to start off with a bit of correspondence now that we're into the meat of things. And the main reason for having the correspondence at the top of the show is because it's quite long and I've got to read it out. And I wasn't sure if my eyes would still be working if we waited till the end of the show. But this is a shooting hero sent in by Jason. And Jason has written as follows. I've been listening to your podcast for over 5 years and always find the podcast a great source of knowledge and humour, so please keep it up. I've been meaning to write in and publicly share my thanks with the person this story concerns. Well, today is that day. I was born in Bradford, that great countryside sports mecca, and moved around the country with my father's job. My experience of country pursuits was limited to walks in the countryside, fishing on the canal, and mucking out at a local farm as a Sunday job. My only experience of firearms was target shooting with my grandfather's air pistols and shotguns with a much smaller stock. However, I had a keen interest in animals and the great outdoors, but always thought shooting was out of reach and never expected it to be something I could do. Fast forward several years, and this northerner has invaded West Sussex, taken a wife, produced 2 daughters, and got himself a yellow Labrador called Timmy, now residing in a small West Sussex village on the edge of an estate that has been in the same family since the late 14th century. At this stage, I thought I had found my lot and was content to explore the area whilst running, cycling, or walking the dog. Well, on this summer's day in question, I met the gentleman who changed my life for the better, so let me introduce you to him. The family and I were walking our rather timid, gun-shy Labrador Timmy across one of our favourite fields. He was off the lead, but on the footpath. All was well. The next thing I knew, there was a quad bike approaching from the corner of the field at a pace Barry Sheen would have been proud of if he rode one. The next thing I knew, a muscular, lean, heavily tanned gentleman introduced himself as the gamekeeper. He was lambasting me, asking if I can read signs and telling me to get that bloody dog on a lead. You're not in the city now. You know there are young birds on the ground and your dog will be disturbing them. I had no idea what he was referring to regarding the birds, but we duly apologised, and I confirmed that as a northern invader I was not so good at reading signs, and explained that my dog would not say boo to a goose, let alone disturb a precious pheasant. Over time, I bumped into the gamekeeper several times on walks and runs, as he was doing what I now know to be his rounds. We started talking, and I asked questions about the shoot. He duly invited me to come along as a beater and see what it's all about. He explained how the day worked and the bonus that you get £10, a can of beer and a cup of soup, and if you fancy it, we have a beater's day at the end of the season. So I went along feeling very nervous, leaving Timmy at home. I was welcomed into the group and various people helped me understand what I needed to do, whilst naming fields and drives, all sorts of weird and wonderful things. I absolutely loved the first season, and on a beater's day, one of the fellow beaters said, "Why don't you have a go?" I had no idea what I was doing, but I duly listened to the instructions and bang, I hit my first quarry, a magpie. I know this was more through luck than skill, but it felt fantastic and I remember it well. This caused much chat on the beater's wagon, and I have been coming back ever since. I think I'm now on my 5th season. I now have my own gun and a much more capable black lab who beats with me and does some picking up when he fancies it. My daughters also beat and one of them shoots. These days are a true escape, and I love every moment, from the team beater wagon banter to the lunch in the old schoolhouse, through to the much anticipated Beater's Day. This gamekeeper helped me not only learn the craft of a beater, but also fulfill my aspiration to work on a shoot and take a bird with my own gun. Every time we talk, I learn something new about our beloved country, sports, or the estate, and with its amazing history. What makes me laugh the most is that if I recall our first meeting, he always apologises for his gruffness, but we all know he can be fierce when required, but equally gentle. Unfortunately, last year he was unwell and underwent treatment for cancer, which has taken a toll, but for most people you wouldn't know, as he can still be seen running at high speed in a pair of wellies on a shoot day. At the time of writing this, I'm preparing a speech for his semi-retirement party, where I will lead the speeches, tell this tale, and some other memorable stories. The good news is he's not retiring at all. He's handing over the duties of gamekeeping to someone else while retaining the role of estate manager, so we can continue our discussions as we bump into each other on the estate. I'm eternally grateful to Steve and the rest of the team for allowing me to be part of the gang. For this, I would love to present him with a set of your finest garters that I know he would wear when he's guest of honour on the next Beater's Day.
I think that's fantastic. Hats off
Very
to
nice.
Steve. I think on both sides, that's absolutely encapsulates what it's all about.
I completely agree. I mean, it's such a... I think that there's a sort of lesson here for all of us, because, you know, where we are on the edge of town, there are people everywhere, on footpaths, not on footpaths. I can tell you that the ability to read signposts or inability to read signposts is not exclusive to Northerners. And of course, our instinct is to say, "What the hell are you doing? Get the
chase them off,
bugger off." And I think that we miss opportunities.
100%.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. Being able to meet people where they are, and you know, this chap, the chap who wrote it, had a hankering for the outdoor life, but no real drive to get involved himself. That chance meeting, if he'd have just been roundly chased off, and Steve hadn't have taken a moment to go, "All right, fine, you're clearly not here up to no good," and they shared some time together and got to know each other. We had a thing come up the other week. We had our little British Trust for Ornithology meeting, and I said to the guys there, "Look, if you're interested, do come onto the shoot." And one of them looked at my little snipe video and put a comment up saying, "Well, of course, it would be fine for the snipe if the nasty brigade didn't keep shooting them." The other 6 on the group went out of their way and just got in touch and said, "Look, we're really sorry for that. We may not agree with what you're doing, but you've explained why, told us what it was all about, and we shouldn't have that kind of division within the group." So we're going to get 3 or 4 of them together, before the pheasant arrive, I think is the ideal time, and take them up and show them what we've done. I think for everybody out there, if you do come across people that are in the wrong place or what have you, don't leap down their throat. Have a chat with them. They might just be curious.
There are limits, though.
Yes.
I want to interject there.
Well, just let me tell you this very quickly, because I was talking about this with my brother and sister-in-law yesterday, and my sister-in-law told me a story. The footpath from Winchester to one of the neighbouring villages used to go straight through the middle of our farmyard. It has now been diverted by the council to go round the back of the trees, so they don't go through the middle. But back before that diversion took place, my sister-in-law came downstairs, having put the baby to bed or something, and found a couple having their picnic in their garden. So they'd come off the footpath, wandered around the farmyard, and thought, "Oh, that looks like a nice spot for our picnic," and gone into the back garden through the gate and just sat down on the grass and were having their sandwiches.
There's a mate of mine lives in the village, and they've got a shared garden out the back looking over the sea, and they regularly have German families camped out and having their picnics. Just sat there, and he goes up and says, "Excuse me, this is our garden." They look at him utterly bewildered.
Yeah.
There's something about the old gamekeeper that installs a bit of discipline within the countryside. So Jason's there, he's off the beaten track. He doesn't know what he's doing. He's thinking, I can walk wherever I want. Steve's bowled up and said, "Listen, buddy, you've got to get off," in the politest English that he can muster at that moment. And then from that, what he's done is Jason's carried on going for a run, going for a walk. Morning, whatever. Morning.
Yeah.
All right. Morning. Yeah, I'm okay. You? And it's and he's let his guard down. And I really do think that the custodians of the countryside, in the gamekeepers, we've just lost us in the local village, and the changes of how the shoots run and what have you. And already now, people in their biggest drive, where they hold the most amount of birds on that estate, everyone's walking willy-nilly. Well, beforehand, no one would have dared. The children were afraid. Shit, Andy's coming. And it wasn't because, it was like, Andy's coming, everyone die and hide, like you play when you play Toy Story on a stag do. But it's one of those where, our local gamekeeper had a bit of authority without being the local Bobby. And I think there's something to be had with that, lads.
But I think what we need to say is, Jason, thank you very much for writing
100%.
in.
Yeah,
Brilliant.
Story.
Really
and
nice
I hope
story.
Steve's getting better and is on a road to recovery.
Well, I mean, what is going to make somebody recover faster than
a pair of garters?
The receipt of a pair of extremely lurid pink garters. Richly deserved.
100%.
And we will get those out, won't we, Jake?
100%. Yep.
No,
We will.
brilliant letter. Absolutely enjoyed that. Very good. Very good. And get well soon, Steve, from all of us.
Here. Right. Avian, you were out. What were you doing with the BTO? Then you were out doing the nesting survey. Is that right?
Yes. So I do the British Breeding Bird Survey, which has been running over 30 years now. There are about 3,500 volunteers across the UK, and you basically get allocated a preset square, and you undertake 2 visits, one early spring, one mid-June, and you just walk your quadrant, and they have a very precise and set way of recording what you're seeing, and that all feeds back in. And that data is then collated to try and show trends in the number of birds, the type of species that are breeding, the habitat they're breeding in. And like I said, this goes on all across the UK. So if anyone's interested, it's a nice stroll in the countryside, even though it was bloody freezing and chucked it down with rain.
And did you have a successful quadrant march?
That's an interesting point, George. I don't know what a successful one would be. We had a really good online meeting the BTO hosted a couple of weeks back, just getting us newbies a bit more prepared for it. So looking at the science and the rationale behind it and how the survey data is used and how the questionnaires are put together. And they said it's not about going out and discovering rare things or unusual things. It is very much like a warehouse stock take.
Yeah.
You walk the quadrant, you follow the same procedure, and you write down what you see. You don't go looking for stuff. And there are little things like if you walk across your quadrant and, a rare bird flies out behind you, you can make a note of interest of that, but that's not included in your survey.
Right. But I mean, come on, between all the surveyors, there must be a bit of competition.
Oh, God, yes.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, God, yes. I think the ones I've met so far and the ones we met online, the survey is taken very seriously, but a lot of them are very serious birders. And we all met up for lunch the other day. I think I was the only shooter there. That may change. There were some quite positive bits came out of that. But the talk was very much where they've been all over the world to see rare birds, but some of them been to the Falklands and Galapagos, and they've done the rainforests, and they're spending a lot of money on their hobby. But a couple of them are the types who, if you get a bird blows into the garden from North America, they're the ones who turn up with the 600mm lenses and camp out in your front garden, terrifying the poor little thing to death.
Do you get how big's your quadrant then?
It's about a square kilometre.
Yeah.
And it's divided up into 10 sections. And the idea is effectively you should be able to just do a continual walk through. It's all been done with the Geosat satellites that will then be able to find a relatively interesting mix of habitat in there.
So you're not just going to get a square in the middle of a field of
some of them can be.
Can they?
Yeah, some of them can be. Some of them are urban. So, people will just sort of walk across the high street and, in the meeting, they said, even though all you might be seeing are feral pigeons and the odd crow, even that data is still valuable because it's building that nationwide picture rather than, going to a seabird colony and counting puffins. That's fabulous, but it doesn't give you a picture of what else is going on.
Yeah. Well, the reason I ask is because there's been this interesting little story come out just in the last few days, which sort of highlights the importance of these ongoing surveys, which is the news that the RSPB are encouraging us all to put our bird feeders away from, I forget the date now, was it from the 1st of May?
Yeah.
Because of the spread of diseases, particularly affecting greenfinches, but obviously affecting lots of other species as well. So that basically has come as a result of the Great Garden Bird Count, which has been running for a long time, and that's enabled them to identify the downward trend in population and identify this as a source of as the cause or one of the causes.
Yes.
So yes, it's jolly interesting that I think.
I think you're right. I think there are a lot of these surveys that cross over. Obviously the GWCT's Farmland Bird Survey. I think that's only been running 17 years.
Something along those lines. Yeah.
The Garden Bird Survey is a little bit longer. That's another BTO initiative. But it is to get these trends. You need that length of data. And that's why you need the same patches recorded in the same way every time to take out as much of the variance as possible. But I think, it's something that for all of us, whether we are, trying to justify surplus shooting on a particular piece of ground or looking at areas that we may have issues with pests, anything that we can get involved with from, our own record keeping on the back of a fag packet, right the way up to getting involved in these slightly more detailed surveys. I mean, as you sort of improve your skills with BTO, you can then go on and start doing some of their more involved surveys, and right the way up to the ringing, nest counts, and the really sensitive stuff where you've got to know what you're doing, so that you're not causing more harm than good. But even if you're doing just the sort of the citizen surveys like the RSPB Garden Bird Survey, it all feeds into the same data pot. And I think like we're seeing now, as you said, George, with the turnaround, because RSPB sell an awful lot of bird seed and bird feeders.
Yeah.
But that advice is showing, because I think, I think we've all noticed that greenfinch numbers have just collapsed. I mean, they used to be common as anything. I think they were 7th most common garden bird in the 70s and 80s, and they're now down at 18th. I mean, to see one now is quite a thing.
Yeah.
And the risk is it's migrating now into chaffinches, and the house sparrow had a big problem. And, without the data, it's one of those things you wake up one morning and they're all gone.
Yeah. Well, and it ties back into some of what my mate Eddie and also Matt Ridley was saying.
Yes.
Matt Ridley saying that he was quite surprised to learn that there wasn't a baseline count for curlew on most grouse moors, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
Yes.
And going back to what Eddie was saying about find the one thing that you're excited and passionate about on your place and do some counting.
Yeah, and I agree with both of those, but I think what has to underlie that is the gross count. What is there? Because none of us really know what the next crash in numbers might be. I mean, there's talk at the moment of wood pigeons not having a very good year this year.
Yes, I've seen that. There's not a lot of evidence that around here, I have to say.
No, but there seems to be pressure on the numbers, whether that's cyclical or is it an indication of a downward trend? It's impossible to know that without the data. So, on the one hand, if you've got core data on what is on your ground and can feed that back in, that helps build the bigger picture. But I think also what we're starting to see, I mean, there was an interesting pushback on the RSPB piece from the Moreland Group.
Yes, I think I saw that.
Yeah, and they're kind of saying that if this reliance on data is the way things are going, data doesn't care what the outcome is. It just cares what the truth is. And if it turns out that actually we can now prove that the majority of curlew, of ground nesting birds, are to be found on managed land, then all of these appeals to, the classic, give us the money or the puffin gets it. Well, that has to get knocked aside, doesn't it?
Yes. Well, this was Rich Prideaux's point when he went off. Last year, he went off to the Wymore Matters event, and he came back and he'd put that video up, and the point he made was outcomes have to matter more than ideology.
Yes.
And I think that remains a guiding light. Sam, if you were going to start counting something on your place, what's the species that you have around there that gets you all excited?
Goats.
I'm counting them, and I'm looking for a decline, which hasn't happened yet. No, I like seeing. I got a couple of woodpeckers. I like seeing them. I feel bad now because they're always on the bird feeder when I see them. I hear them out and about, obviously, but I never see them until they come in for one of the fat balls.
I think fat balls are okay. I seem to recall from the piece I read. I think you're allowed to keep doing fat balls. I think the particular problem is the sort of feeders where they're sort of sticking their beak in between the mesh and those sort of grain dispenser types.
And flat surfaces as well, from what I understand.
Bird
bird tables and window boxes.
I mean, I'm all grass here, but does the bird count take into account, if you've got, cropping cycles and stuff like that, if your kilometre square is mostly down to wheat this year, and then next year is all put into a 2-year grass layer, you're obviously going to see a big difference in the numbers of birds across that area.
Not really on that count, because that count is purely nesting birds. So it's the breeding bird survey.
Okay. Yeah.
So what they're looking at there is to say, well, that's why we go out now. Although I've been seeing young fledglings, young blackbirds are around and about. So obviously there's been an early nesting, but really what they're trying to say is, what species do you have there and in what numbers now? And then June is towards the middle end of the breeding season. What are the numbers then? The extrapolation would then be, are those species still present before and after the breeding season? And do we see an uptick in the numbers? Yeah. Now that then overlays on the more general surveys of what's there at different times of the year. They do a migratory bird survey in the winter. That's a bit more intense. I think that's 5 or 6 visits to the same site to track the migrations coming in. So all of these layers of data sort of build up into the bigger picture. But I think to George's point about what the problem with the feeding is I think there is certainly a problem with the peanut and the seed feeders because it attracts cross species. So the issue is they're getting, because pigeons and finches wouldn't necessarily feed in density together.
Yeah.
But they're attracted to the same sort of feeder. And that's the issue with the flat feeders is that, as we all know with pheasants, they shit all over their food and the next one eats it and on it goes. Yeah. I mean, from my little bit of reading from it, I've stopped feeding birds in my garden 5-6 years ago, but that was mainly because it was a focus for the cats.
Oh, yes.
The neighbours' cats were just using it as a fast food restaurant. So I took the decision to stop it. That combined with the fact that my stupid spaniel used to jump up and eat all the fat balls, and that was never fun to clear up.
Yeah.
But I think, the whole thing, feeding through the winter, which we're all encouraged to do on the shoots, feeding the hollow months, I think that's still good as long as we maintain those levels of biosecurity and cleanliness. I think where the issues were coming is certainly through the summer as it starts to warm up. There was a fear a while back that the young fledglings aren't getting the right balance of diet they'd normally have. They're relying on the seeds. The seeds are out there too long. Water baths, the old bird bath. If that's not cleaned daily, that's a vector for disease. And, it's a case of come May, bring it all in, because it just sits out in the sun and slowly rots. So there's the trichomoniasis and salmonella risks. But I think the interesting bit that came out of it was to not stop people having birds in the garden, but to start thinking about planting plants that the birds can use as food source.
Yes, I saw that. Teasels, I think, are supposed to be particularly good.
Yes.
And I think, especially for greenfinches, I think I'm right in saying I think they particularly like teasels.
Goldfinch particularly like teasels.
That's right.
I've got teasels down here that I see goldfinch on.
Yeah. I mean, that's my biggest excuse for having a backyard full of thistles and dandelions. It's for the birds, darling.
Bloody good excuse. It's rewilding, Avian. It's rewilding.
Yes, it is on a small and very, very bespoke scale.
But, I mean, Avian, you've seen my garden, and you know that it's full of privet hedges and bit of brambles here, there, and everywhere around the trampoline, that type of stuff.
Best place for brambles is around the kids' trampoline.
100%. It's survival 101 from a very early age.
You've got to grow up quick in the wolf household.
100%. But
you missed a great opportunity to say that it's a dog-eat-dog world in the wolf household.
Yes.
Oh, brilliant. But I've left it. So they've just got to get on with it. Yeah. I haven't, we do feed more because the children get to see from the window and stuff like that. So 100%. But I don't encourage them. We've got cats, we've got dogs, we've got neighbours' cats, we've got foxes, munties. We live in rural Suffolk. Let them get on with it. I read this report and we're talking about greenfinches. I reckon I've got a flock of about 30 greenfinches on the 100-acre farm that I look after.
That's fantastic.
I reckon. But the interesting one that I do have, and you might be able to tell me about this, is yellowhammers. I get yellowhammers about this time of year, and then they vanish
into the hedge.
They're gone, and then they just come back for about 6 to 8 weeks, and then they're gone again. I don't know if they just hide in the hedge. I don't know what, but it's always been one of those where I'd love to know where they go. But greenfinches, I'm sick of them.
Well, send some our way. We're lacking them.
I wanted to ask Jake if the same question as Sam, though. If you were to choose one species to really focus on at branches, what would that be?
I'd love to do turtle doves.
Because
I think the driveway there and the way that I've looked into it, you guys know branches.
Yeah.
How good would it be if we had turtle doves there?
Well,
and I think there's a real opportunity for that.
Yeah,
there is, and that brings us quite nicely on to the next little bit of news that I wanted to touch on, which is just yesterday. We should say we're recording this on Saturday. We never stop recording this on Saturday, and I think it was on Friday. It was announced that there's a heap of money, or at least the government
60 million quid, isn't it?
Yeah, for threatened species recovery, which includes a turtle dove project. Now, unfortunately, this one's in Kent, I think. So you're not going to get any funding, I'm afraid, Jake. But no 60 million for you, I'm afraid.
Damn it.
But the really interesting thing in this is that, you read down the list of the organizations that are getting the money. And it's, you go, okay, so we've got...
the usual crowd.
We've got the usual crowd:
Trust,
Kent Wildlife Trust and the National Trust and the RSPB,
British and Irish Association of Zoos and Aquariums.
Exactly. But then it also includes the Game and Wildlife Conservation Trust, who have got some money to conserve oyster catchers, which are wonderful birds.
Yes.
noisy as hell, but really kind of gregarious and sort of interesting to have around. And yeah, they're lovely things. And so they've got some money to promote the breeding success of oyster catchers in England, which I think is extremely cool.
It's very cool. And I think because it comes on the back of the money they were awarded just recently for the Curlew project, doesn't it?
Yes, it does. So I think it's positive signs there that in the corridors of power, the GWCT are they're making their voice heard, and they're putting in some successful funding applications, which I think is really great news. Now, Sam, you mentioned the British and Irish Association of Zoos and Aquariums. This is my favourite bit of the whole thing. The glutinous snail is going to be getting some money.
Does it have pockets?
It's got a little shell.
I mean, I know a few people I would describe as a glutinous snail. But I mean, they just sound fascinating. They've got a jelly-like mantle, apparently, and a very thin shell.
Never heard of them. Never was aware of them. I mean, Sam, before we pressed record, said he's got a joke that would go very well with this, and we all told him he's not allowed to tell it here.
No.
But I think if you find him at the game fair and buy him a pint, he might well share that with you, although you probably want to be sitting down before he told you.
Maybe just after this episode comes out, you can share it in the Order of the Garters WhatsApp groups.
I'll put it on my calendar.
So I think that's all really exciting news. I think
it's very positive. I think it just goes back to what we were saying about the data collection. I think GWCT are proving and providing the evidence that their methodology works, and it's coming good.
It's great. Right. So the other thing that I've just been, we were talking about what we might have a chat about, and this time of year, I always used to say that the period of time between February and April was the toughest time of year because there was no shooting and there was no cricket. But what with having kids and stuff, I've not noticed that to quite the same degree. But there is this sort of period now when one could theoretically be fishing the rivers, but it's a bit cold most of the time. It's a bit grim. I'm not. My brother's been up to Scotland. My brother's been up to Scotland to go salmon fishing, a couple of weeks ago, and he sent us a photo on the Saturday, and he said it's windy, it's raining, there's been sleet, and
it's still winter up there, isn't it?
It's pretty grim.
Yeah.
So that being said, I thought we'd have a little chat about sort of the close season blues and how to fill your time before it's proper sim day and fishing the rivers weather. How are you guys getting your thrills before the really warm weather properly kicks in? Jake, what have you been up to? What have you got lined up?
Nothing much, because the day job is taking its toll this time of year. We're thick into it with the thoroughbred breeding season, so it's kind of head down, bum up at the moment. So, but I did squeeze a little bit of clays at Aeroswell with Toby last week, and it was just nice to go and have an hour and a half just away from it all. This time of year, I always feel bad because I'm not spending enough time with the children. I'm not being a good husband and that type of thing because it's busy. And you would have seen, if you follow me on socials there, I pressed the button a little bit too early. And Toby properly told me off in the cage. And he was like, I'm not ready. And,
I did see that,
yeah, it's one of those where we kind of have to just write everything off at this time of year. And just, with the breeding season the way it is, the covering sheds, the mares are foaling, we've got a lot of foals on the ground now. And so it's one of those where we're just doing the job. So I don't really get this bluesy period. And then we go into summer and clay season. So, but it's nice just to go and spend some time with family and just reassess.
So how was Toby's shooting?
Yeah, much better than mine. And
I mean, that's not saying much.
I've mentioned on here how he was kindly invited to the family day at Branches Park in January. And it's given him some really, really big confidence. And he stands into the gun nicely now. He's bringing the gun out and he's trying to break it. It's a brand new 28 bore, so it's really hard to break open.
Yeah.
But he lifts a gun up and then he tries and he says, Daddy, I just can't do this. Or he goes, I've done it. And he pulls it out carefully. You know, the gun safety element of everything now. You know, he practices at home, he mounts, and 10 minutes. Just had a little mount up into the wall and what have you after his sister's gone to bed. You know, so he's coming along great. I got stuck into the skeet, chaps, and I've always feared the skeet ranges. Couldn't hit an A bird, couldn't hit the high tower crossers, but the low crossers, dusting them. I was like, get in. So now I've bought myself a skeet vest. I've got all the gear.
Oh,
I haven't. I haven't. No, gentlemen, I haven't.
You can be fired from this podcast.
No, I promise you I haven't, you know, with the clip so I can put my number on the back. I haven't done any of that, and I haven't got a towel down by the side of my leg or anything. But
one of those little square bags for your cartridges.
I've got one of those.
You've got the barrel stickers as well, just to keep Chris happy.
Famously,
I have got barrel stickers, and I'm proud of them because they add value to the gun that I shoot, chaps. You've seen the gun that I shoot, and it's Turkey's finest. And by sticking Kudu River gun dogs along the side of it, it just gives it a little bit on a.
Would you use Order of the Garter barrel stickers?
100%. On that little ATA, why not? Would I put it on my Silver Pigeon? Hell no. Definitely not. I'm not going to. But would I stick on the ATA that cost me £500? It looks cool. It'll add value. Yeah, definitely. Have you got some stickers then? Have you got some ordered?
No.
Well, George, on your side by side, would you use the Order of the Garter hand stitched little barrel sleeve?
Ooh, what in pink and purple leather?
Yes.
Yeah, I think I probably would.
I think that would look quite good, wouldn't it?
I mean, you wouldn't take it on a grouse mall, would you? But
no, you'd drop it in the heather, you'd never see it again.
I think if somebody would like to hand stitch me a barrel sleeve, then I'd use that for sure.
There's a challenge for somebody out there.
Avian, you have to learn to do leather working now.
Oh God, I can barely sew on a button. I think the problem is if I hand stitched it for you, I'd have to follow you around all day because my thumb would be part of it.
Sam, what about you? Am I right in saying that you two are going on a jolly?
We're going on a jolly, yeah. We're going up to see one of your new titled mates, grouse moors.
Oh, you're doing Moorland Matters?
Yes. Yeah. Well, we're going up with GWCT. They very kindly invited me after we did our stint with the snipe. They sent me they phoned me up and said, "Would you like to?" And I said yes. And they said, "Well, we haven't told you what it is yet." And I went, "Don't care, coming."
Then he said, "Can my friend come with me?"
My friend come with me. So we're heading up to North Yorkshire on the Friday the 1st. And on the 2nd, we are out on the Black Grouse Lek. And your friend Matt Ridley has very kindly offered for us to go on his moor.
Fantastic.
Wow. Yeah.
So we're spending the morning there. I broke the news to Sam this morning that we've got to meet in the town square at 3:40 in the morning.
Good Lord.
But afterwards, we'll have some breakfast, and then we're heading out to a different moor with the keepers there to see if we can track some of the tagged, because they do wing tags and also radio tags. So we're going to see if we can find some of the last year's birds that have been released out on the moor there, and then a long drive home.
That's curlew, is it?
No, that's black grouse.
Oh, tag black grouse.
Yes.
Wow.
So we're going to go out and see if we can find some of the birds there and meet the keepers and some of the dog handlers. So I can't wait. It's going to be a hell of a long way up and back again.
Yeah.
As we said, everywhere's 5.5 hours from Cornwall, but this is another 2 hours further than that. But it's going to be amazing.
This is seriously cool, though. How exciting.
Yeah.
You jammy buggers. I just wish I could have joined.
Bonking horses, Jake. You can't do that.
I'm watching. Awesome. So I've seen it. It's been shared. Rich Prideaux and Amy did such a good report on it last year.
Yes.
What are you taking with you to record it all, guys? You're going to do a little bit of a chat up there. How are you going to document it all? I mean, it's incredible.
Don't know yet.
Don't know.
When Claire gets the bank statement, George was talking about what do you do to fill your time during the off-shooting blues. I've been buying camera gear, I'm afraid. I don't know how to use it yet, so I'm going to have to go and video some static daffodils tomorrow, I think. But yes, I've spent a bit too much money on some new toys.
Wow. I mean, the thing that my lasting memory of the black grouse lek is, I mean, you don't need fancy gear, right? You know, you're sitting in this little hide, or at least I was sitting in this little hide, and they were, you know, at one point you could sort of hear them crashing into the guy ropes of the
Yes.
the little tent thing. They are so close. And I sort of started taking a few pictures, and then I thought, actually, I don't need to take photos of this because I'm not going to forget.
I think you're right, George. I'm a little conflicted with it, and I think, you know, it's great that Sam can come up with me, because on the one hand, I would love to just sit and watch it, because I mean, originally the more they were hoping to take us to, it would be binoculars, and we're a little distance away. So when Eleanor emailed and said that Matt's very kindly offered to go in his let, the hide you were in, where she said you could literally reach out and tickle them. But
yeah,
you know, for my very, very, very amateurish filmmaking side, I do think it's important to try and have my record of it, just to show other people what these people are doing.
Yeah.
So, Sam, you will have to be my wet brain eyes.
I'm going to be selfish and just enjoy it myself, and then steal some of Avian's footage to share as my own.
So I'll be sat there gently swearing under my breath when I realise I forgot the vital piece of kit that makes the whole thing work, and that's back in the hotel. Yeah. But I can't wait. It's very daunting, but I'm really looking forward to it.
It's going to be fantastic. I'm very excited.
I was umming and ahhing about it because Avian said the date to me, and we're doing a sim day on the Friday before, so we'll finish that and we'll pack up from that, and then I'm going to be up to wherever we're going fairly late. So I think it'll be Pro Plus, wash down with espresso, and then up again at 3 o'clock in the morning. But after listening to the last episode with Matt, it just got me actually really excited for it, and I thought, no, I can't miss this opportunity to go up there.
Well, when you're in the car, you can download Matt's book.
Good shout.
To keep you entertained and listen to it in the car on the way up.
I have.
You've got it there. It is so interesting. I think we spoke about this a little bit last time we recorded, and we talked about how now is a great wild food time of year. I've been out wild garlic picking.
Oh, brilliant.
And I got very carried away.
Was it bin bags?
It wasn't quite bin bags, but it was a sufficiently large quantity that I then thought, oh shit, what am I actually going to do with all of this? Because it's going to go off quite soon.
I was going to say, how do you store it if you pick loads? Is there any way of doing it?
Best way is compound butter.
Well, yes. So I've made about 1 kilo of that.
Yeah.
And that used about 1/10 of what I
picked. Shit.
Would it work if you dehydrated it?
Yeah, you can dehydrate
the thing I use for doing my jerky. I could use for
and Hugo Game Glutton has a good, you know, he's got some instructions on his Insta for how to do that. I have made quite a lot of it's sort of a chimichurri or maybe a salsa verde type thing. Just whatever herbs happen to be kicking about, plus, you know, as much wild garlic as I could fit in the little jug thing of the blender, some vinegar and some olive oil, and just whizzed it all up. I have also started making some wild garlic oil, olive oil.
Yes.
Just, you know, submerge it all in there for a couple of weeks and then take it out and bottle it. And I still only used about half of what I've collected. So the rest of it's in the freezer. And I try and work out what to do with it at another time. Oh, yeah.
After 3 half pints of the red diesel, the orchard of the, make wild garlic vodka.
Oh, God.
What?
Wild garlic vodka.
You've tried, or is this something you've
no. It's something I haven't tried, but let's have it there. No. Why not? Because it's always someone.
I'll tell you why not. There was a bar in Soho called Garlic and Shots back in the day. That was a gothic themed. Everything was painted black, and everyone in there were goths. And it was open very, very late. I think it was just off Dean Street, and it was. Back in the day, it was about the only place left open till the clubs really started opening. So you go in there, and all they served was garlic beer and garlic vodka. Utterly vile.
I think it's one of those where if you've got someone that needs their heels clipping on a shoot day or at a dinner party, and it sits in a bottle, and you just bring it out and leave it at that. George, please.
I mean, I have seen a recipe for a wild garlic tincture, basically as a sort of cure for colds.
But don't you just rub that on rather than have to put it anywhere near?
I think you're supposed to drink a shot of it.
Oh God!
But it is basically what Jake's describing. But honestly, I think that if that is the cure for the cold, I think I'd rather have the cold.
I'd rather have the cold. I think Sam's got the right idea. If you dehydrate it and then have it as a dry rub.
Yeah, that's a good idea. Or just sort of sprinkled over the top of things. Yeah.
Or don't pick so bloody much next time, Brown.
Well, no, that's not going to happen. But like Jake, I have been hanging out with the kids over the Easter holidays. I took them fly fishing again down to a lake. It's about 25 minutes away from here, Meon Springs. It's a lovely little spot in the Meon Valley. It's absolutely stunning. The lake itself is, it's a lake. It's not particularly pretty, but the valley itself is gorgeous, and no road noise. It's just a lovely place to be.
How did they get on?
We were sort of embarrassingly successful, really. We sort of flogged a bit in what was evidently the wrong bit of the lake for the morning for an hour or so. Then we stopped and had our picnic and wandered up to the other end of the lake. After the picnic, I tied on the biggest, bushiest, yellowest fly in the fly box just to see what happened. And first cast, something came and just absolutely nailed it on the drop. Didn't take, but properly hit it. So I cast again and again. First little tweak of the line, boom, there was a fish. So I quickly landed that. Cassie netted it, which was fantastic. So then I thought, okay, we seem to have found the formula here.
Yeah.
And literally nothing took more than 2 casts before getting a strike. And each of them ended up winding in a fish of their own.
Fantastic.
With their brother / sister doing the netting duties for them. And so they were properly excited by that.
So you've basically launched for them a lifetime of heartbreak, disappointment, and expense?
Yeah.
Good man.
Exactly that. And we went back into the little hut, and there was a lady in there who'd been coaching all morning, and she said, "Oh yes, I've just bought my 7-year-old granddaughter a fly rod off Temu. It was £11.50 and it was pink." So my daughter was like, "Daddy, I need a pink fly rod." Yeah. But as you alluded to this a little bit earlier, and the other thing I've been doing, I've been mincing more muntjac. So the freezer is now absolutely groaning with venison mince. But most excitingly, and I have to say a huge thank you to podcast listener Stagsbrook Game on Instagram, who has sent me a dozen grey partridge eggs.
Oh, wonderful.
Which are now under my last remaining bantam hen.
That's fantastic. Oh, well done, mate. Brilliant.
They arrived yesterday.
Yes.
And I haven't quite worked out what the rest of the plan is. Well, that is to say, there isn't one.
Best plan.
Did they not come with instructions written on the shell?
No, I know what I like the incubating bit. The getting them to hatch bit is that's not in my hands. But after that, I haven't decided if they're being released or if I'm gonna sort of keep them paired up, or I need to have a bit more of a think about this.
Yes,
but I'm very excited by that. So a huge thank you. And there will be updates.
Brilliant.
As things progress. Now, we've been going for a fair old while already. I had wanted to have a bit of a chat about, we've had some really great guests on recently.
Yes.
And we've got some more really great guests lined up. But I just wanted to say to everybody listening, this podcast has grown organically, shall we say. But, we want the podcast, I think you'd agree, that we want the podcast to be what people want it to be.
Definitely.
And we've always stuck broadly to game shooting and, a bit of gun dogs thrown in here and there and quite a lot of conservation stuff. I just want everybody to let us know what sort of thing, sort of beyond game shooting, like the obviously connected to game shooting stuff that people would like to listen to, the kind of guest or the kind of topics you'd like Chris and I in particular to cover. So, is wild boar a thing that is interesting? Do you want more clay shooting stuff? What about big game in Africa or African stuff, or, slightly more further afield? What kind of thing would you guys like? So I don't think there's garters for this, but if you have got some ideas about the sort of thing that you'd like to hear about on the episodes that Chris and I record, just drop us an email to pod@gunsonpegs.com, and we will either take your ideas on board or we will chuck them over the side, depending on how good your ideas are. So shall we do a grand day out?
Definitely.
So I hopped on the phone with your colleague Gemma Avian the other day and asked her if she had any particular recommendations and people she thought we should have a look at. And she suggested the Morgue shoot. Morgue's was the second most viewed shoot on Guns on Pegs last year.
Crikey.
Wow.
And they've got, Guns on Pegs now has this functionality where you can follow the shoots that you're interested in so that you get updates when they post a new date or when they share some photos from the rearing field or whatever it might be. So they got the sixth most followers last year, and they're also the most inquired for shoot in 2025 from Guns on Pegs members. So hugely popular shoot.
Yes.
And they've got a lot of good reviews on there as well, to be fair.
Yeah,
they really have.
Yeah.
And the thing that Gemma wanted to highlight was they do these little sort of knockabout rough shooting days, accompanied rough shooting days. So it's sort of 35-ish bag with some, wild duck and some, if you see a pigeon or a magpie or whatever, you can have a crack. It's a 2,000-acre estate in Kent. And you're accompanied by one of the keepers, so you're not just sort of working blind, but you've got the keepers and the dog handlers with you. It's properly ancient estate as well, which Morgue was always there or thereabouts when I was sort of full time on Guns on Pegs, but I hadn't realised that you can trace the Morgue Park estate back to 968 AD.
Yeah,
before
the
Willie the Conch.
Yes.
Which is pretty amazing.
When it was sold for 1,450 pence.
Amazing. But yeah, I mean, these days, they're £312 a gun.
Yes.
Seven gun line. I mean,
I think there is a massive market for this. I think, driven days definitely have their place. But I think the ability to effectively rough shoot an estate of that stature and that size, and it's sensible numbers, isn't it? I think they allow up to 5 pheasant per gun, or looking at it, ducks if they're obviously off one of the stock ponds. But beyond that, it's whatever you come across, and that in many ways that's the ethos of shooting, isn't it?
Yeah. Oh, there was a bit in the description that I enjoyed, because you can tag a sort of wild duck flight onto the end of the day.
Yes.
And it says days can end with a wild duck flight on the estate's marshland reservoir, for which we make no promises, but there is also no bag limit.
Yes.
And I think that's rather a fun, it's like you can go and do that. There might be nothing, but if they do turn up, crack on. It's great, isn't it?
It's the being there without the expectation necessarily of coming home with something is a bonus. I think there's another bit I saw on the write up for the shoot. There is obviously for people a bit more local, but they do the Morgue's Estate Pigeon and Vermin season ticket, which during the summer months for £250 plus VAT, you have right to shoot pigeons, other vermin with a shotgun over the whole estate through the woodlands right through the summer months. Visiting on any or all days between now and the 30th of September. So on the one hand,
that's pretty cool.
What a wonderful way to just go for a mooch with the dog or a couple of mates on an estate like that. But from the estate's point of view, what a bloody wonderful predator management and pest management campaign.
Yeah. Well, chaps, there's 4 of us here, include Mr. Horn himself. So there's 5 of us. Why don't we do one of these? Why don't we just book it at £312? Let's do a day, all go down, and let's go and have a bit of fun.
I like the way you think.
Yes,
perhaps we should also involve Gemma and perhaps Digby.
Definitely,
100%. Well, it says they'll take up to 7, so let's bring the 7 of us. Let's head down and do it. How much fun would we have here? It's brilliant.
I'll tell you what, Sam, like we said the other day, we're going to have to get these buggers to the west, aren't we? Everything they do is all the way over there in very nearly France.
Another 5.5 hours.
Another 5.5 hour journey. But then again, looking at the photos on Guns on Pegs for the estate, it is just the absolute classic rolling Kent countryside, isn't it?
So go and check it out. There's lots of availability. and snap them up before they go. The Morgew is spelled Morghew, and I'm sure you'll find it if you whack that in the search bar on Guns on Pegs. So, have we got anything else that we want to touch upon, or shall we wrap it up there?
I'm going to wrap it up because I've had a lot of these ciders. I'm not going to lie, lads.
He's going to be the first to try and stand up.
No, I can't feel my face. I'm not lying to you, chaps. This is not good.
I'll tell you what, gents.
It's been wonderful.
I'll take my hats off to you. Thank you very much for trying the evil brew. But I must admit, whether it does get better the more you drink it, or you just become less aware of how terrible it is the more you have. But thank you.
I'm really enjoying it, and it's a triumph.
It's been good.
So very good.
Well done.
Next, Sam makes champagne.
Fucking hell.
There goes the explicit marker.
Good. Right, before we go, all that remains me to say is that there is a final reminder that you can get your hands on a pair of the very exclusive Guns on Pegs podcast shooting sock garters and a Guns on Pegs premium membership and access to the Order of the Garter WhatsApp group by sending us your shooting dilemmas for us to resolve, or by sharing your unpopular opinions or your forgotten drives and work podcast suggestions, or letting us know about a shooting hero like Jason did. Just drop us an email to pod@gunsonpegs.com, and if we read it out in the next episode or any future episodes, we will send you some garters. But anyway, for now, that's your lot. Keep sending in your follow-up thoughts. Chris and I are back in a couple of weeks' time. We're recording next week with somebody rather exciting, and then we are going on a jolly, recording on a Saturday again up at the Holland and Holland Shooting Ground. So I'm not going to tell you who either of those guests are, but we'll get a couple more in the can, and they're going to be really good fun. But until then, thanks very much for listening, and goodbye.